Hello and welcome to the Healthcare Huddle video podcast. I'm your host, Rachel Slawson, and today we're covering the part 2 of the conversation with Nicola Gurr around conflicts of interest. If you want to see part 1, I'll leave a link in the description so you can go and check that one out. It's definitely worth watching. And today we'll be carrying on our conversation with Nicola. So what can be done about conflicts of interest?
What Cumberlege and Patterson and indeed Kennedy 20 years ago recommended was that the National Registry for doctors included all of their interests, but all of their specialist qualifications and all of their case history, so that there was one place where you have a full repository of all of their interests and all of their qualifications and all of their expertise. And what Cumberlege goes on to say is actually just having a repository has limited benefit unless you do something with that information, unless you turn it into something that the public can understand, and it's in plain English rather than medicalese. So there will be some work done once the registry has been created or expanded. But personally, I think that doctors should give patients a leaflet about them that says, this is who I am, these are my interests, this is my specialism, this is how many times I've performed this operation in the last 5 years, this is who I am, because we already give patients lots of information around their medical condition or their post-operation or what this treatment entails and the pros and cons.
Do you have any future concerns?
I think we need to be aware. So some of the new models of care that are coming out have definitely got the potential for conflicts of interest within their architecture. So primary care networks are networks of GP practices. And so there is a potential, when they're given the budget, that they will fund things that the committee are interested in, whether that be diabetes or their own practice. So there's certainly some potential there. And I know that the government are looking at how to balance that, because they will know what the local needs are, but how do you then prevent and having very transparent where that money's gone to? So there's certainly a potential there. And then the other big organisational restructuring is the integrated care partnerships, which are partnerships with hospitals, community providers, GPs, to a different variety, and mental health trust as well, to a different kind of makeup, but they're the kind of key components. And again, if you've got people on the boards who own their own company, i.e. GPs, it's how do you make sure that you get the money to the right place without having to someone's interests and having that transparency. So it goes back to good decision making and good record keeping.
Yeah, and you bring up a really good point about the new models of care that are coming in. Thinking about how would you manage that, because the drive is to make it very, very localized commissioning decisions, really looking at a local population and what you're hearing and seeing from them, and then tailoring your offer to those, but also at the same time balancing that with how GPs are independent companies, they run their own business. That is really challenging, and a good oversight and processes would help that, I think. Yeah.
Yes, and awareness, having people being aware that there's a potential problem here and putting things in place to protect the clinicians as well as the public. And a lot of it is around that the perceived issue is as great as an actual issue is. And therefore, people who are on these new boards will be in positions they've never been in before. So it's how do we make sure that they're safe and protected and they don't sort of step over the boundary in good faith in some ways. The Patterson report is fairly, recent behaviour. And although that wasn't a GP, that was a clinician, it just shows that stepping over the line can be done really easily.
And I think, like you say, having the right structure around and processes will help support good decision making. Obviously, it should all be data driven, you know, really, really data driven decision making about, this is our population, this is the health challenges, this is the outcome. So the outcome is measured and very, very tangible. And that can include how patients feel about that, obviously. But yeah, I think really, really good data monitoring and good quality data is really, really important. And then that gives you confidence that a decision you've made, or a new model that you've put in, or a new thing that you're trying, actually works. Thank you so much, Nicola, for that really informative discussion. And I think it gives you a lot of things to think about and reflecting your own practice and how you go forwards. As you say, the perceived issues can be just as bad as the actual issues. So I think that needs to be looked at, and any safeguards put in place that can prevent that, and everyone can then be really open and honest and transparent with how they go about doing things. And I think that will only benefit not only the clinician, but also patients going forwards. So thank you so much for taking time with me today. I really, really appreciate that.
Pleasure. Been fun.
Go and check out Nicola's article. You can go and find that on the Fascia Mellius website, which is fascia-mellius.org.uk. And I'll put a link in the description so you can go and check that out. If you're joining us on YouTube, please like and subscribe so you can get notified of our next episode. Thank you so much for listening to the Healthcare Huddle podcast. Stay safe, and we will see you next time.